sisters, children of all ages, it is time for a late night bottling session. It was actually a very busy day today, and I got a lot of work done. But the last bit of work that I need to get done is going to get done tonight, and that last bit of work that I need to get done is bottling up 10 cases of whiskey. So I do have a happy hour scheduled. It is a happy hour on the topic of procrastination, and ironically enough, I've had to postpone it twice. It will now be tomorrow night, not tonight. Tonight was supposed to be the night, but we got to move it to tomorrow night because of because I have to do this tonight. And if I wasn't doing this tonight, I would be doing that tonight. But that'll just wait till tomorrow. Okay, so let's get a word from our sponsors.
Is your bar looking a little ordinary? Is it lacking something awesome? Well, head out to your local liquor store and pick up something extraordinary. Grab a bottle of Old Humble Straight Whiskey or Old Humble Special Reserve. They're clean, smooth, easy drinking whiskeys that taste the way whiskey should taste. From humble beginnings to an extraordinary finish, Old Humble whiskeys are what your bar needs today. Walk tall, be awesome, and drink humble. Old Humble Straight Whiskey and Old Humble Special Reserve. Get yours today.
Whoops, sorry about that. All right, we are ready. This is the live camera. We are bottling up over here. I had to go get water. Sorry about that. All right, so what are we doing today? We are doing our special reserve. Hold on. I've got to drain a hose real quick. That's not a metaphor. Actually draining a hose. All right. This hose is leaking all over the place, so I got to drain it. It's filled with delicious alcohol. Which is the only kind of alcohol we make at the Old Humble Distilling Company. All right. Mess avoided. Okay. So what are we doing tonight, boys and girls and children of all ages? I am I'm doing our special reserve. That's what we're doing tonight. And any topic that you wish to discuss is on the table. Because I really don't have a specific topic. I am going to talk about the return of our happy hours. I'm super duper excited about the return of the happy hours. I do have my chat right here in front of me. I have my cup of water. I'm not going to bother draining the first runs. This is going to actually be a little bit light, but it's within the parameters of... I've got a problem. All right, that goes there. Let's go back over here. Those are just a little bit full. All right, so we will be doing quality control checks periodically. I need to put the chocks on the table so it doesn't roll off while I'm working, or at least one down. We're doing 10 cases. First 5 cases. We'll set up the first 5 cases, then the second 5 cases. But I'm going to go through the whole process with the first 5, then go through the whole process with the second 5. Need to sharpen my knife. It's getting dull. My throat is sore because my 13-year-old is a stubborn, bullheaded ding-a-ling. But we had an airing of grievances and settled everything. Or at least mostly settled it with the boys. What do I do with my shot? We had a minor industrial accident earlier today. The gantry crane actually broke. My the pulley system, the block and pulley, the block and tackle system is what it's called, actually broke on me earlier today, and we had a barrel fall about 4.5 feet to the ground. And as you can guess, that's not a great way to start a day, which is why everything's running slow. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Barrels are very sturdy. They're designed to be tousled and jostled and thrown around and not just fall apart. They're very sturdy structures in general. They're very efficient in their volume, and they're very sturdy in their construction, which is great for transport. I didn't know how sturdy they were. I was surprised. This barrel fell a full 4 feet from about here, right about here. No, it was right about here where the bottom of it was, and it, boom, right to the ground. I lost a little bit of whiskey out of the barrel because it fell. When it fell, it came down and fell head down. And on this particular barrel, they were top loaded, so the bungs were on the end. Excuse me. The bungs are on the end instead of on the side for these particular barrels. So, excuse me, the bung came out of the bunghole. And that caused whiskey to leak all over the ground, but I only lost about 2 gallons of whiskey. And it all evaporated out. You can't even see it anymore. There's a little bit of a spill over here when I was draining the barrel the second time. Quality control. It's good. All right. So the Old Humble Happy Hours. The Old Humble Happy Hour was a weekly show that we did back in, starting in 2020. And it went from 2020 to 2023 to the end of 2023. And we took a couple of brief hiatuses during that time. But it went almost continuously. We did something like 242 programs going up to the end of 2023. And I haven't had time to get back to doing it. I've been busy. I've been busy doing work, this stuff. But thanks to our monetization program, I have funds enough to get a new camera. That was the other thing. We had a camera that malfunctioned on us. My good camera, the Canon camera, my Canon camera malfunctioned and wasn't streaming anymore. So I didn't want to do a me-focused talk show with a subpar camera. Like this one's my web streaming camera. This one's the wide view, long range, broad view camera. I'm okay with this for like this kind of work. But when I'm at my desk and I'm at the camera at my desk and I'm talking to the camera, I didn't want to do that with this camera. I want to do it with a better camera that has higher resolution, 1080p, or 4K if I had that option. Plus, this new camera is going to give me the option to be able to do some long-form pre-recorded stuff, not just shorts. So, with the new camera coming in, I've also got new lights coming in for my home studio. So I have the new camera, new lights. We got topics that I'm generating a list of topics that we can get cranking on. We'll revisit some of the oldies but goodies. The how you determine something doesn't exist from a lack of evidence. how you examine the no. Like, how do we know giants don't exist? Yeah, how do you examine the no hypothesis? How do you confirm a no? You know, you don't have to search every nook and cranny for the Loch Ness monster. You can look for associated things that would suggest that the existence of a Loch Ness monster. You know, flora, fauna, stuff that they would feed on, oxygen levels, you know, things like that. We'll visit that. We'll visit conspiracy theories, real conspiracy theories. Like the JFK assassination. I'll even give consideration to the 9/11 truth or nonsense, because that was a real conspiracy for about 5 minutes. But that was a conspiracy that was born of the internet age. I will not give any credence whatsoever to Alex Jones's nonsensical bullshit. We'll talk about contrails, stuff like that. We got a bunch of topics that I want to talk about for the Old Humble Happy Hour series and the return of the Old Humble Happy Hour series. Let's get that volume up a little bit. I'm using my new lapel mic, and I want to make sure that the audio is coming in okay. It looks like it is. Good. Okay. But for a while, I did the co-host thing with Lisa, but my computer just really doesn't support streaming video with. It doesn't support processing video coming in and out at the same time. My CPU is just not strong enough for that. And my video card is just not good enough for that. So the new computer has to wait until we get enough revenue in from the channel to pay for a new computer. We have enough revenue from the channel to pay for the lights and the camera. We just haven't had enough revenue yet to get a new computer. And I might be able to borrow my son's computer to do streaming work while he's off in college. We'll see. I don't know if he's going to take his laptop or his desktop or both. I assume he's taking his laptop. I don't know if he's going to take his desktop. And if he doesn't take his desktop, then I might just bogart that bad boy. We are also on one of these upcoming lives, happy hours. On one of these upcoming happy hours, we're also going to I wonder what that does. We're also going to finally do the giveaway of our Black Cat Ridge. We've got a few bottles left that I can put into the giveaway batches rather. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5th case right here. So we'll take those bottles, put them into the giveaway side. Should I go ahead and do the bottling of the next 5 cases? I think I will. I got space on the table, so I think I'll go ahead and do it. I'll go ahead and do it. We'll just go ahead and do 10 cases at a time. Instead of doing 5 all the way through and then 5 all the way through, I'll do 10 all the way through. So the first step in the process is not this. This is actually the second step in the process. The first step in the process, well, I guess this is the third step in the process. The first step in the process is draining the barrel, which I did earlier today. When I dropped the barrel on the ground. That's why I have this gantry crane back here in the background. Can you see the gantry crane from here? Yeah, you can kind of see it. It's where the logo is, right up there. The gantry crane helps me lift those barrels all the way up. And what happened, excuse me, the way it's set up is with that block and tackle up at the top. Can you see the block and tackle? No, you can't. All right, well, tough. With the block and tackle up there at the top, it's connected to a winch on the side. And with the block and tackle, the rope is tied off, or had been tied off, with a plastic biscuit that prevented it from slipping out. And that's what gave me my mechanical advantage. It was pulling at the pulley, and all 6 of 1, 2, 3, yeah, 3 pulleys there. So I was getting 6 times the mechanical advantage to hoist that thing up in the air. But the weight is still there. The weight doesn't go away. So I'm still lifting a 600-pound barrel up off the ground. And what happened is that plastic biscuit finally broke. That plastic biscuit broke. And when that plastic biscuit broke, the whole mechanism shuddered and shifted. The barrel dropped when it shuddered and shifted. It was very scary. Lots of oh shits were said. I was very concerned that I had lost an entire barrel of whiskey, which would cost me $2,000. But more importantly, the revenue cost, it's worth about $6,000. Is that right? No, it's worth about $4,500. So not only would I have lost out on the $4,500, but I'd have had to replace the barrel itself, which would, run me another $2,000. It was just bad. $15,000. It was just bad, all around bad. 4, 5, 6. I saw dollar signs just flashing before my eyes, like this is going to be horrifying. Ugh. I mean, the revenues, the cost is bad enough, but the revenue, oh my God, I have this order going out literally tomorrow. That was revenue that I wasn't going to get back for a week. I was going to lose out on that for a week, and then I have this other barrel that's already pledged. It's another order. It's another order that I'm going to be prepping up. 7, 8. So, yeah, losing that whole barrel would have been catastrophic. Absolutely terrible. And I'm glad that it just landed on its head, and we just lost a couple of gallons. Because that would have been very, very bad. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 100. Shit. I'm going to have to get new bottles. before we do more whiskey, I'm afraid. Ugh. Money out the door, but at least we got money coming in, so that's good. Just got to be able to schedule it out the right way. What else? Who else? We got anybody in chat yet? We got 4 people joining us. Say hi in chat so I know you're here. And if you got questions, you want to know what we're doing, let me know. Right now, every 27.05 seconds, we fill up 4 bottles of whiskey. Right now, we're filling up our Special Reserve whiskey. The Special Reserve is 90% corn, 10% malted barley. I have it all on top message. Let me move it over to live chat so I don't miss out. There we go. Do we not have funded as an option? Funded as an option there. Okay. And like I was saying, this is the 3rd step of the process. The first step being draining the barrel. The second step is the filtration, and we run it through 3 filtrations every time we do what we do. So coarse, medium, and fine filtration. And sometimes we got to do the fine filtration twice. Sometimes we got to run through 2 sets of filter pads. It happens. But this is what the whiskey looks like. A nice dark brown, a dark amber, I suppose, is what it would be. Okay, so we got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Move this over a little bit. We should be fine. There. That should do it. All right. And yeah, we go every 27.05 seconds to fill the bottle. But it's not perfect. We gotta nudge it up a little bit sometimes. We gotta pour a little bit out sometimes. We gotta balance it out sometimes. The next step along the way is the corks. And I'm just putting these in loosely right now, because I will mash them all the way in with my little corking machine that I built. Actually, I should do 11 cases, because I ought to have one here at the distillery too, the tasting room. So I'm going to do an extra case. Even lower on the count for the bottles. But that's fine. I have an odd number over here. Why do I have 2? What did I do wrong? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm gonna look at the tape and see what I did wrong. I have a weird count. I have 2 more up here than I should. 2, 4, unless I just grabbed these 2 and put them up here when I shouldn't have. There. All right. 2, 3, 4. I did something weird, and I don't know what I did. But it'll work itself out. Who we got in chat? Cheers to Top Shelf Dustin. We have got our special reserve. It has been out of stock for about a week, 2 weeks. We've had our supply was decimated by our last order. They came and got everything. And we just had a bit of a timing issue where our next batch wasn't ready. When the last batch was picked up. So, okay. It is even now. 2, 4, 4, 2, 4, 4, 2, 4, 4. Okay. I fixed whatever I did wrong, I fixed. I don't pour it out. It either goes back into the vat or into the sample cup. I gotta admit, my voice sounds scratchy because my 13-year-old caused me to lose my temper. I'm sorry, I lost my temper at my 13-year-old. I told him to come into the kitchen, and he said, I am in the kitchen. And his fucking feet were in the living room. And the whole point of our discussion tonight was that he was being a disrespectful little brat and not following directions, not paying attention, not doing what he was told. So that kind of set me off a little bit. I'm not proud of my actions, but I own them. They're mine. I did it. That's a very important lesson I'm trying to teach my kids. That your actions are yours and yours alone. They may be in response to other people's actions, but their actions did not cause your actions. You caused your actions. You did it. Now I'm paying the consequences because my throat is sore and my voice is scratchy. But we had a nice 2-hour conversation because sometimes you just have to sit your kids down at the table and talk to them. Help them quit being shitty people to each other. 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 8. Then we have 2 more cases after that, plus a bonus case. That's exactly it. I lost my temper because I lost my temper. You got to own your actions. Other people can cause you to have feelings, and you aren't always in control of your feelings, but you are always in control of your actions. You acknowledge your feelings and deal with them as you deal with them, but your actions are yours alone. You own them. They're yours. He made me. Nope, he did not make you. You did it. That's how it works. And that is what I'm teaching these boys. So I got to model that same behavior. And I know better. Because I did get it back under control. We sat down, we talked. The older one is leaving for college. The younger one is 13 and knows everything. 13-year-old boys are fucking the worst. And I know for a fact, because I've been a 13-year-old boy, we are the worst. Bigfoot and silver hunters in the house. Cheers. Oh, no, Dustin. You can't always be responsible for your feelings. Music comes on, makes you feel things. Sunset makes you feel things. We're not Vulcans. We don't control our feelings all the time. Feelings are strange creatures that sneak up on you sideways, cause you to feel things when you weren't expecting it. Unexpected feelings are a real thing. You don't always control them. They take you by surprise. They catch you off guard. And God knows we don't choose to feel grief. Grief is a feeling thrust upon you by circumstances of life. You can choose to ignore it to your own detriment, but you can't ignore your feelings for long. We like to think we can because we're men. Men don't have feelings. At least, men of a certain age, we don't have feelings. We don't acknowledge that shit. That's woman stuff, right? Don't go to TikTok and listen to what I don't do TikTok anymore. I canceled that. And so you can't control it. You're responsible. I don't even think you're responsible. I mean, your feelings are yours, right? They you you own them. They're yours, and they're real, even when they're wrong. I feel like blah blah blah, whatever. You feel that. That's a thing that you actually feel. And some feelings you can absolutely control. I feel offended. Well, you chose to do that, dum dum. So feel offended all you fucking want. Go jump on your offended train and be offended. Nobody cares. Go away. Excuse me. But, you don't always choose to feel the feelings you feel. They are very much a product of environment, among other things. I haven't really thought this out very much. Beyond you control your actions, you don't control your feelings. Feelings are an outside thing imposed on us, by circumstance. Like, we don't choose to feel grief. We don't choose necessarily to be happy. We can choose to be happy in certain circumstances. But, circumstances can be defined in such a way to make you feel helpless, to make you feel powerless, to make you feel. I mean, that's the whole point of the prison system, right? To make you feel powerless, to make you feel like a number, less than human, to break you down in order to build you back up. That's what they do in boot camp. They make you feel exhausted, mentally tired, broken down, worn out, so they can rebuild you into what they want you to be. You don't own that. I mean, it's yours. You own it. That's what you're supposed to feel. You feel it. But it's a thing that's being done to you. It's a circumstance and a condition, a psychological condition. That's what I'm trying to say. Feelings are a psychological condition. In some cases, you can control them. In some cases, you can't. Actions are a physical event, and that you can absolutely control your actions. You can absolutely control actions, and they are 100% yours and yours to own. Your feelings, on the other hand, are a psychological condition that can be imposed on you by an outside force. And I suppose if somebody grabs your hand and makes you slap yourself, your actions can be imposed on you by an outside force. But we also acknowledge that feelings are real, even if they are a psychological condition imposed on us by an outside force. A song comes on and reminds you of someone, and you're happy or you're sad or whatever it is. The song isn't I mean, you're not choosing to feel that because of the song. The song is imposing those feelings on you from an outside perspective. The song's not doing it on purpose. We're not assigning blame necessarily. It's not a sentient thing, but it's a real thing. And no, I don't do TikTok. Sorry. 10,000 problems and not a single one is their fault. Yeah, you know, that's a thing that I find fascinating. You know, if every boyfriend is a toxic boyfriend, if every boss is a toxic boss, if every if every circumstance is a toxic circumstance, like there's one common denominator in all of that stuff, and it's you, the toxic dingling that's at the center of this storm of nonsense. You need to stop doing all that shit because, come on, everybody else knows when they come to your house for the third time to rescue you from a toxic boyfriend. You make bad decisions, girlfriend. Stop it. Checking the levels on these bottles to make sure they're all within parameters and not too tall, not too short. They're all pretty close. That one was too tall by a long shot. This one is, well, I just traded it from one to the other. That'll do. And you know, sometimes feelings are just a chemical imbalance, but these chemicals can get triggered by outside forces. Anyway, we're going to take ownership of our faults. We don't succeed by ourselves. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. So, any young person, the life success you have, it's because someone helped you get there. Every failure you're to blame. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the point. They're like you can control your actions. Like they're yours. You can't always control your feelings, but they're still valid. And that said, we need to guard our actions and be mindful of our actions because a lot of times we take actions without thinking about them. And that's when you get into a lot of trouble. Especially when you're taking actions with other people or towards other people, because if you don't think about your actions, thoughtless action is a sign of disrespect. And you know, we're dumbing this down to a 13-year-old level. And a 17-year-old level too. Because they were talking a lot about respecting each other and blah, 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 blah. Which is important. You need to respect each other. But disrespect isn't just overt actions of disrespect. Disrespect can be inadvertent actions, thoughtless actions, unintended actions that you just weren't thinking about the consequences because you didn't think that it mattered. And they're not bad people when they do stuff like this. They just did bad things, and they can do better. They can make better choices. They can be mindful of their choices and make better choices. And that was the whole point of the discussion. You know, feeling disrespected can be a result of actions. Having disrespectful actions is a conscious choice, just in the same way, or an unconscious choice, just in the same way that being respectful can be a conscious choice until it becomes habit. And then once it becomes habit, then it's an unconscious choice. And all of this was an effort to try and get my boys to stop being at each other's throats for at least the next 8 weeks. And it was a really heartwarming moment at the end when they both admitted that they really did want a relationship with each other. And they didn't want to hate each other. And I said, well, you don't have to hate each other. You can choose to not do that. But sometimes it means taking actions that don't make a lot of sense, especially if you feel legitimately that the other one is disrespecting you. You can choose to feel disrespected and not act on that. You can choose to take the higher road and just wave your hand and say, oh, I'm sure he was just inadvertently acting that way. He wasn't choosing to do that on purpose. Cheers. Dumbing it down to the 25-year-old level, that's good. People in any given moment have no control over their actions. A combination of their life experience, IQ, biology, or whatever genetic thing they started with. I don't know if I agree with that. I would say that at any given moment, at any single given moment, you have control over your actions. But the long arc of outcomes is a combination of all that stuff. You know, like I can choose the path where I bust my ass and work hard and go to Harvard. Right? Middle class suburban kid from outside of Houston. I could choose that path. I could succeed or fail in achieving the Harvard goal, right? But having nothing remarkable in my background. Not coming from money, not knowing the right people. The outcome at Harvard is not a given. You know, I'm not a Zuckerberg who knew the Winklevoss twins or whatever. You know, it's going to Harvard is not the path to success that it would be for somebody who has the connections, that has the money, who, you know, I mean, I could take the Ted Cruz path, do Harvard Law, become a piece of shit senator. You know, my outcomes are not always predefined, but the likelihood of the outcomes are very well defined. There's paths. There's wide paths, easier paths that are laid out for people like us, normal people. And to some extent, I don't want to be fatalistic about it, but to some extent, it does not matter how hard you work. It does not matter who you know. Well, it matters who you know. It doesn't matter how hard you work. For the vast majority of us, we're going to die broke. And if we're lucky, a life insurance policy will cash out and hand our kids $50,000 or $100,000 when we go. Because almost all of our assets are going to go to the hospital, the nursing home, end-of-life medical care. Because we're never going to be rich enough to outpace our medical needs. There's always going to be one last person with their hand out to take the last little bit of whatever it is we got. And I know that sounds pessimistic, and it's not 100% true, but I'll talk about for the vast majority of people. And by vast majority, I mean 65 to 75% of Americans. We are going to die with nothing other than the family in the room when we do die. Because every bit of what we have, if it hasn't already been put into a trust to be handed down, it's going to get taken by the medical system and the funeral care industry and the death care industry. Because the vast majority of us are not going to outlive our money. And whatever money we do outlive is going to be taken by the hospital. That $150,000 stroke bill or end of life care or whatever it is, that's for real. That shit's for real. And we're going to have comfortable middle class lives for the most part. We're going to have comfortable middle class lives and our comfortable middle class houses and our comfortable middle class jobs. Vast majority of us. Our paths are laid out. You cannot be whatever you want to be. I know it sounds pessimistic, right? You can't be an astronaut, kid. Most people can't be astronauts. You can't be a doctor. You're not going to be a lawyer. You're not going to be anything. You're just going to be a dude working in an office for some company. That's just how it goes. And maybe you get lucky. You meet the right people. You make some good choices. We like to think that the American dream is, you work hard, you keep your nose to the grindstone, you get rewarded for your hard work. But the reality is, you work hard, you keep your nose to the grindstone, you get fucked by the guy who owns the grindstone. Golly. Why am I on such a downer note today? Perk me up, boys. There's Tater Dom. I have control of the long term in the moment. That person is a combination of life and genetics. Yeah, I disagree. I don't agree that we have. I think we have control over this moment, this action right here. The long term is controlled by everything around you. Where you were born, when you were born, who you were born to, how you were born. I'll never be a sprinter. I'll never be an Olympic sprinter. No matter how hard I try. I could choose today to run a 100-meter dash, 100-meter sprint, whatever it's called. I can make that decision today. I could compete in the Olympics. But the long-term outcome's genetics, as far as athletic skill goes. And as far as intelligence goes, the long-term outcome of the education system, half of your knowledge, half of your capacity to understand things, most of your capacity to understand things, that's genetics, man. Your ability to process stuff, that's genetics. And that determines your long-term success. Hell, just simple geography. Being born in New York versus being born in Texas versus being born in Kansas. I mean, Jesus, just being lucky enough to be born in Texas means I have far more opportunities afforded to me than being born in Kansas. Being born in California means I have access to a better education system than being born in Florida or Texas, for that matter. Ugh. 24 more to go. This hand's getting tired. Let me catch up on chat real quick. I saw Tater Dom's in the house. Cheers, Tater. Dustin, sunflowers. Cheers, sunflowers. You're going to sprung like you're doing. Gut reactions. More than zero type thought process. Not your normal. More of a Zen type. Yeah, this is more. This is not my norm. This is not one of the normal thought out things. I haven't really given a lot of thought to this. This is kind of a at the moment. Because someone told me just this last weekend that they see a lot of me and my kids. And I thought about that. Like, that's good and bad because I know myself and I see a lot of me and my kids too. And I'm really hoping that I can teach them to make better decisions that I made. But I also know that they are in a large part bound by their genetics of who they are. And being someone other than who they are is really hard to do. That's a suit that doesn't fit. So you know, like, I mean that, and we may just be, we may just be disagreeing on definitions and perspective of how we see it. I'm not sure, but I'm happy to agree to disagree on this philosophical statement with you. Because I really do believe the actions you take today, you control that. You're here. You're in the moment. But the outcome of the action, like, let's say I get in a fight with somebody. That's my choice. I can choose to get in a fight with someone. I can choose to escalate or de-escalate. I can choose to throw punches. I can choose to disable you, throw you on the ground and sit on you. I can choose that as a course of action. That's fully within my control. Now, whether charges are pressed, I'm not in control of that. Whether the police investigation finds me at fault, I'm not in control of that. The court sentencing, I'm not in control of that. I'm not in control of any of the outcomes. And second, third, fourth generation down the road results of my actions. But I am 100% in control of my actions and 100% in control of my reactions to the circumstance. But, you know, we can agree to disagree on that. I'm okay with that. Mr. Jigs is in the house. Cheers, Jigs. The doctor or lawyer isn't that hard. You just kind of have to want to do it. Well, being a good doctor or a good lawyer is harder than being just a doctor or lawyer. And yeah, you kind of just want to do it. And a lot of it is just commitment to the bit and working your way through the work that has to get done. That's like 80% of the challenge. But some of it's also just processing and being, you know, if you want to be good at it, being good enough to be able to process the information coming at you. Making sure your brain works good is important. It's a very important thing, having a brain that works good. Anyway, where else? Let's carry on. The sci-fi, I think he means becoming a doctor isn't particularly hard. You just gotta, if I tap you on your shoulder, you'll respond. You don't control that. I control what response I have if you tap me on the shoulder. I can either, you know, ball up my fist, turn around and start swinging, or just turn around and say, hey, what? I mean, control your actions. Your actions are naturally a response to your stimuluses, unless you're a crazy person, in which case your responses are to stimuluses that you invent in your brain. And that's also part of the conversation that I had with my boys, is because their actions were a response, in some cases, their actions were a response to what they expected the other one to do. And that was also a sign of disrespect, because you're not giving the other person a chance to be a good person. You're just already assuming the worst of them. And if you assume the worst of somebody, then you are, by nature, not respecting them. You are just assuming that they're bad people. And they may give you a reason to do that, but you can still choose to assume that they're going to be bad people and not change. Or you can just take the higher road and say, you know what? I'm going to love with reckless abandon. I'm going to open my arms, and if you stab me, you stab me. And that's the difference between being good people to the ones you love and bad people to the ones you love. You don't want to be bad people to the ones you love. You don't want to assume that the ones you love are going to stab you. You want to assume that they're going to be good people. And in a large part, I think that is in general something that we've lost over the last 5 years, because we saw firsthand during COVID that a lot of our neighbors and a lot of our coworkers and a lot of our friends and relatives and associates are truly thoughtless, uncaring, cruel people who literally do not care if you live or die. And it pissed me off a lot when people were walking around saying, oh, if you're just sick for a week, what's the big deal? When I'm someone who, if I'm sick for a week, I could lose my entire business. Nobody's, like, there's people walking around with businesses and jobs that you literally cannot be replaced. You are literally the only person doing that job. And they're just thoughtless, uncaring people. They just don't care if you don't get your job done, if you can't go into work, if you can't function, if your business suffers because you're sick. They just don't care. And I think that's something that we've lost over the last 4 years or so, that assumption that your neighbor isn't a bad person. Because we've seen firsthand that people are, that a good chunk of the people out there are bad people. That they literally just don't care if you die. That, as Dan Patrick, our lieutenant governor, said, they would sacrifice their own lives to see that their kids do better, or that the economy was doing well. That's what he said. That they would sacrifice their own lives to make the economy better, when he was talking about grandparents during the pandemic. And, you know, I don't want my kid's grandmother to sacrifice her life so that Exxon can make an extra $1 billion this year. Fuck Exxon. That's the definition of being a bad person. And I think that is something that's hard to come back from, but it's something that we generally need to make an effort to do individually, not as collectively. I can't speak for everyone. I can only speak for myself. Oh no. That just caused a problem? Okay, we're good. Context here. It's a hard thing for sure. Not so hard as like people can't do it. Man. Way too big. It's that. today is way too big. It's that moment. I got you. Choose to fight or not, what you choose is the result of your 50 plus years. Hey, 40, 48. Calm down. Sunflowers. Lisa has her own shit going on right now. I don't know if she'll be back. I'm catching up to chat as we speak. Your boys expected something based on their life experience. See, you're making my point. No, that's the thing though. They're not expecting something based on their life experience. They're expecting something based on a narrow perspective of their own of their own narrow perspective of a life experience. Because they're not seeing a broader perspective, and they're not acting on reality. They're acting on emotion. Again, emotion that they don't necessarily control, because you don't control your feelings. Like, this all comes together. You don't necessarily control all of your feelings. Feelings can be caused by other people, and that repeated disrespect was causing a feeling, which was causing an action. It was causing a feeling, which was being acted upon, rather than a rational response that they can control on their own. Long story short, I know, too late for that. Oh, so the next step in the process, for anybody watching who is actually curious about the process and not just the conversation, we're putting the shrink wraps on the corks. And the shrink wrap, the shrink seal, is actually a vestige of delivery of bottles back in the 1800s when distilleries made the transition from delivering barrels to delivering bottles. The barrels could be tampered with all along the way. Everywhere there was a stop, a barrel could be tampered with, and oftentimes they were. Whiskey would be drained out of the barrel into a glass, into a bottle, where it would be taken home by the people who worked at the depots. And the barrel would be either refilled with water or just left half empty. So by the time the barrel got to its destination, it wasn't always what was shipped. But if boxes of bottles were sent with protective seals around the corks, as the tamper-resistant seals, then when the receipt was made, they would know if their shipment was damaged or tampered with. And that's why we have tamper-resistant seals on our bottles. It helps seal the cork on, keeps the cork from popping off the bottle, but it also tells you that what you're getting in the bottle is what I put in the bottle. So there you go. There's your history lesson for the day. Now back to the philosophical. Jesus, it's late. Back to the philosophical talk of feelings and actions. So I'm staking out my position here. Feeling it out, understanding it, settling in. You control your actions, but you don't control your feelings. Feelings are an outside force imposed to you by their chemical reaction to outside forces imposed on us by the environment through which we live, through which we exist. They're a psychological event. A feeling is. It's a psychological event rather than a physical action. It can manifest in a physical action. The feeling of nausea manifests itself in an action of vomiting. But actions themselves, you control. You can control your response to stimuli. Some of us are more mindful of our actions than others. We get out of control because we're not controlling our actions. We're not being mindful. We're not paying attention. We're being irrational. We're acting on feelings and not facts. And sometimes all of us can be subject to that. But ultimately, in the moment, right now, in the now, you have the capacity to control your actions. You don't always have the capacity to control your feelings. But in the long run, the long arcing history that you write, ultimately, your outcomes are determined by genetics, environment, geography, so many other things. You are not the author of your own fate. You're only the author of your own actions. And the world will ultimately, the way your actions interact with the world is ultimately how your fate will be written. That clear enough? I think that's clear. I think that works. I think that's a coherent philosophy of life. Some of us will be lucky enough to control enough of our own actions that we're able to get into the circumstances where our future is changed from the past. We're on a new track. Our family tree is changed. For the better or for the worse, we can't always know. You know, we meet the right people, we get in the right places, we get the right financing, whatever it takes. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. You should always be trying to make the world a better place, or at least cultivate your garden so that your garden can flourish. Because you never know who will eat the seed or eat the fruit of the seeds of your own garden. So, as fatalistic as it sounds, that we're all going to die penniless, because anything that we manage to save is going to be taken by the medical system and the death care industry. And that sounds fatalistic and sad. It sounds like a statement that you shouldn't even try, but that's not what that's intended to be at all. It's intended to instead say that we should always strive to cultivate our own garden. Because we never know where our fruit will drop, who will eat it, and who will grow a new garden with the seeds that we create, propagate out of our own space. You may have an unremarkable life, but that doesn't mean that your unremarkable life didn't affect somebody else in a positive way. And we'll never know what the outcome of the infinite connections that we make are. Or we may never. We might get the opportunity. Sometimes we might get the opportunity. Sometimes we won't. But in an infinite universe, we can trust, I think, that it will go on without us and it doesn't need our help. All we need to do is take care of our own garden, and the universe will take care of the rest. We do the best with what we've been given, and let the chips fall where they may. All right, so what just happened there was I burned up one of these little shrink seals. It got too hot, and it burned a hole inside, so I took it off and replaced it with a new one. There you go. Monday nights seem to be a good night for conversation. Where are we? Emotion, neurosphere, yeah, IQ, genetics, life experience. That's all you are. Sick for a week is wild. Had health issues. It took a week, but the virus, good God, I've had that. I'm not sure I could deal with that, and I'm weak. And that was just the thing. It wasn't like just sick for a week. It was like out of commission for a week. Like at the height of the pandemic, right? Like you would be down for a week, right? And at the height of the pandemic, you were quarantined for a week. 7 to 10 days, you were quarantined. You couldn't interact with other people. You had to be like locked away. And I'm out here trying to do tastings. And people are like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Like, motherfucker, that is $2,000 worth of revenue to me. To be down for 10 days? 10 days. I can do two cases a day for 10 days. 2 cases a day for 10 days. That's like $3,000 worth of revenue. And these motherfuckers weren't offering to replace that revenue. They were just dicks. They were just being assholes. Well, I don't care if you get sick. I didn't get sick. Well, good for you, motherfucker. Good for you. You didn't get sick. I managed to avoid getting, well, I'm fairly certain I got it twice. But I never took a COVID test. So I can say I never got COVID because I never tested positive. But I'm pretty sure my symptoms coincided with another person in my house every single time. And I tried real hard to not catch it from my wife, but I almost always caught it from my kids, I think. Anyway, and one of them came down sick in December. I think it was December 2020. And I went down immediately after he went down. But I'm like, I'm not taking a test. I'm just going to sleep on the couch. Because I could not afford to be quarantined. I know, that's selfish, cruel, and mean. But I didn't have anything going on. And I kept myself away from my family for like a week. I slept on the couch, spent most of my time in the office. I didn't have any tastings that week. And I never, ever, 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 ever went out when I didn't feel. I didn't have any tastings when I didn't feel well. So it was a tough time. It was a real tough time, and I think psychologically for all of us as people, we have seen people be terrible people, and now every time we see a shopping cart left in the middle of the parking lot, instead of having the charitable opinion of, well, they were probably busy, they just didn't think about it. We think immediately that they're just thoughtless, horrible people who can't be trusted to do the right thing when nobody's looking, when there's no consequences. Because there's 2 types of people in the world. People who return the grocery cart and people who don't. Only 2 types of people. Only 2 types of people in the world. There's not, we've lost the capacity to accept the idea that there's a third type of person, a person who's mostly good, who does mostly good stuff, but sometimes just has a thoughtless lapse and doesn't like think about it all the time. We've to a large extent lost that ability to accept the possibility that there's a third option. And my one of my boys was saying that because all this shit blew up over a dumb, nonsensical thing this evening. My little one hardly ever eats food. My wife cooks food. He's like, oh, just have a hot dog. But we were having chicken, and he eats chicken. But just as an example, it was chicken with green beans and bacon. Maybe it was spinach and bacon. Yeah, it was spinach and bacon, and which is absolutely fucking delicious. And we had asparagus and potatoes, and he likes French fries, but he doesn't eat potatoes. As an example of his finickiness. So he had the chicken. But my older one was supposed to be set at the table. And instead of setting 5 spots, because there's 5 of us, he set 4 spots because, well, I didn't know he was going to eat chicken. Well, just a couple of days ago we had chicken. He ate chicken. It wasn't a big deal. He eats chicken sandwiches at Chick-fil-A. He eats chicken. He knows he eats chicken. He always eats chicken. And we offered him this, he's like, well, either I didn't do it because I didn't want to do it, or can't remember what the other one was. I said, well, there's the third possibility. It was just a mistake. You could have just forgotten, right? You either, that was it. You didn't do it because you didn't want to serve him at the table. You didn't want to put his silverware at the table because you were just being mean. Or you didn't do it because you legitimately didn't think he was going to eat the chicken, but we know that's not true because you know better than that. So and he just didn't have, he wasn't willing to have room for, well, it was just a mistake, I forgot. He's like, well, I didn't just forget, I didn't make a mistake. Well, like, dude, the one option is you're just being mean. You didn't do it because you didn't want him sitting at the table. The other one is you're just thoughtless and disrespectful because you're just not thinking of it. This third option is like literally nobody's fault. It was just a simple mistake. But he wasn't willing to leave room for that third possibility. No matter how many times we said it, he just decided it was a good time to get in a fight because some other shit was going on. A whole laundry list of stuff. We don't need to talk about all that stuff. But a lot of it also comes down to just stress of going to college. He's stressed out. The little one's stressed out. Everyone's stressed out over it. But I don't think we've left enough room after the pandemic that there's this third option of people who just didn't think about putting the grocery cart away. They were busy. They had their arms full of groceries. They put the groceries away. They're hot. They're tired. They just didn't think about it. And I'm legitimately willing to take the leap and say that there is sometimes an excuse to not put your grocery cart away. Sometimes, it's hot. You just want to get in the car. You got your kids in the car. It's hot. You just want to get in the car. You get in the car. You start it up. The air conditioner's running. And then you just don't think about it. You just moved on. You had 150 things going through your head. And I know it's a leap. It's not that hard to put away the grocery cart. But, sometimes for the good of everybody, you just assume that maybe there's no malice intended. It's just a mistake. They just made a thoughtless mistake. And it happens. It happens. Sometimes you just make a dumb mistake. And after watching people stomping around, insisting that they're not going to wear a mask, your immune system just needs to be stronger. Why should my germs affect your life? Masks are too uncomfortable. Kids need to see their teachers' faces. After seeing my cousins be horrible people and insist that kids go back to fucking petri dish germ laboratories before it was time for the kids to go back to school. It's really, really, really hard to just accept there's a possible third path between being a horrible person and being a good person. Because we saw people brazenly stomping around being horrible people. Just constantly being absolute horrible people. And still to this day, God forbid you put on a mask because you're not feeling good and you don't want to get everyone else sick. They're like, what are you, some kind of fucking sissy? No, you motherfucker. I don't feel good and I have to go to the store and get some stuff and I don't want to make everyone around me sick. Suck my dick. But, you don't want to necessarily lash out mean. You just got to step back and go, well, maybe they lived a privileged life where nobody they knew, nobody they loved, nobody they cared about died. Maybe they didn't know a half dozen people who died. Maybe they didn't lose 60% of their business over the course of 2 years because they just couldn't get the supplies they needed. And they couldn't get the people they needed. They couldn't get the events that they needed because all the events were canceled. Because when groups of people got together, everybody got sick. Maybe they're just, it's not mean. It's not knowledgeable cruelty. It's just ignorant, lack of knowledge behavior. And it's hard to grow that muscle back after it atrophied for 3 years. It's really hard to grow that muscle back after it atrophied over the course of 3 years, and just watching people just not care, not being able to go to your aunt's funeral, not being able to go to a baby shower, not being able to not being able to cross state lines because I couldn't be quarantined coming back because I had a damn tasting that I had to do that next week. So you just miss out on family stuff. You miss out on doing things. You want to go, but you can't afford to get sick. And for a good long year and a half, that was the mentality. You can't afford to get sick, and yet everyone around just doesn't give a fuck. And then, you have to try and grow that muscle back where you actually extend grace to people when they don't ask for it, and they certainly don't deserve it, but you're just trying to be a decent person, and they're just like insisting on being the worst possible human being. I did business with a guy, a business associate. This was after the election, going into 2021-ish, somewhere in that neighborhood. Guy I'm friendly with, he was a nice guy. We drank together, shot the shit, enjoyed ourselves, had a grand old time. He started spouting some shit off about how his election fraud, this, that, blah, blah, blah. Oh, illegal immigrants voting in the election or something like that. And I'm like, dude, that's not happening. Like, I worked the election. I can tell you that that's not happening, and I can tell you how we know that's not happening. And, I try to start explaining it that way. And he says, well, my grandmother voted 3 times, and she's dead. I said, well, actually, that didn't happen either. I don't even have to ask you how you know that happened, because I know that there's no resource you can go to see who your grandmother voted for, who died, unless you know her social security number, and you don't know your grandmother's social security number, so you didn't do this. And you certainly can't see who she voted for. So I know you're lying about it. And then he has the audacity to say, yeah, I know it's not true. I know I'm lying, but it's something I feel, and I'm glad I have this platform to be able to tell other people it too. Like, dude, you're lying to people on your fucking platform. It's through a whiskey club that he operates. You're straight up lying to him without any hesitation or that. So I've had trouble extending to him the grace. Because he's one of those people that does damage with his lies, as opposed to just, you know. And then I also question his character in general, because if he's like a liar, like how do you come back and do business with somebody who is a admitted liar? He's a dude. He's the kind of dude who's like, yeah, I know it's not true, but I'm gonna keep repeating it so that people will believe it. Like, I don't know if I can do business with that guy ever again. And I don't know if I really don't know if I want to just like socially hang out with him. These are things that weigh on my mind post-pandemic. And things that I got to see firsthand in my own kids, as they don't have the developed grace muscle that they used to have to be able to extend the benefit of the doubt to their own brothers. But anyway, I've come full circle. I've gone from thinking that people are mostly just bad people to people are probably mostly good people. They just aren't thoughtful all the time. To kind of now settling into people are mostly good and a little bit bad. Like they got a little bit of both in them. And even when they're being dirtbags, professed dirtbags, proud dirtbags, if you will, they still want to be good people. That I really think. You know, you could spend the whole day stomping on baby chickens. Let's go with that one. Spend the whole day stomping on baby chickens. I don't know where I'm going with this, but like, no, I don't think you can be a good person and spend the whole day stomping on baby chickens. I take that back. You're just a bad person if you do that. But I think mostly people are mostly. I think they want to mostly be decent and not hurt other people. That's what I'm going to go with. All right, we're going to go front. We're going to go back label first, then front label. How's that sound? But not back label, front label. We're going to go back, then front. Excuse me. Front. And I think I should go from the other side this way. What I'm going to do, I'm not going to, I guess I could. No, I don't want to set up the machines because the machines are just going to take too much time to set up. They're not going to save me any time. I'll just do these by hand. But I am going to go from this side first. That way I can finish towards the camera. Ah, see? I'm a content creator now. I'm thinking about cameras and stuff. The new camera is going to be a nice, stable streaming platform. It's not going to be it's a camera designed for streaming, not refitted to stream. So that's going to be good. But the goal is still, I got to get about $1,000, I think, to get a new computer. Unless I buy my kid's computer off of him, then I could probably get away with $500. But my rule for spending money on studio stuff is it's got to be YouTube money that I spend on studio stuff. Distillery money's for distillery stuff. YouTube money's for studio stuff. So when I buy cameras or lighting, things like that, is all coming from the monetization budget. And we've so far earned 200 monetization dollars, and I've spent 135 monetization dollars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Perfect. All right. So I'm going to move these this way. And I think what I'm going to do ultimately is create a separate YouTube monetization account, bank account. So the YouTube monetization money goes into the YouTube monetization account. I could do it as just a sub account in my accounting ledger, but I'm not that sophisticated right now. Over one more. And I will ultimately create a contra account of YouTube expenses to go with my YouTube revenue to net it out. But I think maybe I'll make it as a fully owned subsidiary of the distillery. Like Old Humble Media Corp or something like that. I could do that, right? I wonder how other YouTubers set up their financial accounts with the channel monies and stuff like that. Because I don't know. But there probably should be a sub-accounting system. Huh. I wonder. Because ultimately it's marketing, right? Revenues from the channel would then go to marketing. Probably, the channel itself, but also a portion of it probably should go to, hello, I see a flashing thing on the screen. What's that? What's it say? Top Shelf Dustin, 2. Oh, oh Dustin. Chat filter. I can do that. What's happening? Hold on. My phone froze. I gotta see what's happening here. Thank you, Dustin. I appreciate that. Steve Erpenbeck. Okay, so the last chat I saw was that you lost your smell. There it is. There it is. Supply chain stuff is more an argument in their favor. Yeah, I lost smell, and to be fair, okay, there we go. Like everything froze on my computer or on my phone. You've been bottling a bunch these last couple months. Business is booming. Steve, cheers, my man. Business is good. We're doing the right things. Things are going in the right direction. Come on. My phone is freezing on me. The video's not coming through on my phone. I thought the video had frozen there for a minute because it had frozen on my phone. Business. This is probably the best half year, the best first 2 quarters of the year that we've had ever. Business is, it's coming together. I mean, I don't want to be too honest with y'all, but this is like a make or break year for the business. There we go. Skip the ad. You know, the business either stands on its own. I kind of had a 6-month runway this year to start making money, getting more revenue, more in than out, or at least positive cash flow. And so far we're doing okay. There's a few major questions with supply stuff that I need to answer and make sure that we have supplies. Like I'm almost out of glass. You want to buy some bourbon, but he's going to owe me money, sadly, because I'm going to win our bet. Hey, there's still time. I still don't think that was with Dustin. We'll come back to business talk in a second. The bet was that Trump won't even be on the ballot. Tall order, not that he'd lose. I firmly believe he will lose. There's no God's green earth he wins. Ever before, or was it Adams? I think it was Adams. Non-consecutive, maybe it was Pat Buchanan or one of the consecutive terms. There's one time in a non-consecutive that the president won non-consecutive terms to the president. And Trump is not that guy. I just don't think. That was that he won't even be on the ballot. That they'll nominate him at the convention around. The Republican Party will have replaced someone else. And I'm sticking with it. And I'm putting up a bottle of my Boomtown bourbon against the Kentucky stuff. New riff, I think you said? I can't remember. We've traded messages and talked about it. My audio is going to shit. Probably because yeah, it's right here. Let's fix this. Move this here. What is going on? This is a new microphone too. It shouldn't be going to shit. There we go. Did that fix it? It looks like it fixed it. Yeah. We should be good. Okay. Yeah, but I with the criminal conviction, well, 3 of the cases have been mothballed. Florida has been suspended, from what I understand. Florida's been suspended. The Supreme Court is sitting on their ass, hoping to run out the clock on the January 6th case in D.C. And then there's the other case, the classified documents case in Miami. That one is on hold because of, I think that's also pending the Supreme Court. limited immunity question. So Georgia's diddling with Georgia. Feds are diddling with Miami and D.C. New York went ahead with it, got their convictions. If he goes to jail, I mean, do they nominate a guy and put him on the ballot if he's in jail? I guess that's just a sentencing hearing, though. The sentencing hearing is just before the convention. So, like that hearing theoretically could go a couple of days, but he gets nominated and then goes to jail for 4 months. Do they put a guy on the ballot? Let's say 4 months. I don't know if he goes to jail. Do they put a guy who's going to be on house arrest? If he puts him on house arrest, I mean, what do they do? I am infinitely curious. I would love to see how this plays out. There was a time when the Republican Party was respectable enough that this wasn't even a question. Just the affair would have disqualified him. Just the affair would have disqualified him. How far have we fallen? Right? I mean, come on. Anyway. Well, I wasn't sure it would all go to court. I was thinking a couple of them. I thought Georgia would go to court, and I thought Georgia would go to court, and I thought New York would go to court. New York went to court, but the legislature, and I mean the apparatus in Georgia had put the kibosh on Georgia. I thought there was a chance the federal cases would go. Maybe the Washington case would make it. Chutkin was being such a tool sack. I didn't think hers would make it to court. But, I mean, there was a time this would have been pled out, right? Like a respectable politician would have said, I'll plead guilty to one lesser charge of conspiracy to something, a misdemeanor, and take the Spiro Agnew out, the Agnew off ramp. I'll take the misdemeanor charge, and I'll resign from office, and I'll be out of politics. That's how this shit used to play out. But I don't know if Justice Department would have accepted that plea deal from Trump because he was already out of office. So resigning from office wouldn't have made any difference. And he was already defeated once. Like, why would they, not make an example of him, knowing that he could be defeated again? I don't know. I don't know how this is going to play out. I have faith in my fellow Americans, but I don't have faith in the electoral system to faithfully reflect what my fellow Americans will vote for, because the Electoral College is not intended to do that. You know what I mean? But I do have faith in my fellow Americans that they will not elect, that they will not vote for a crazy person to be president a second time after he's shown his true colors over the course of the last 4 years. But we'll see. I'm in Texas, so I'm pretty sure I know how Texas is voting. But man, wouldn't it be a thing? Colin Allred beats Ted Cruz and the state goes blue for a presidential election for the first time since Probably Bill Clinton. I think Texas voted Bill Clinton the second term. I don't know if it was the first term or the second term. I don't know. Y'all check that. Y'all go fact check that. I don't know the last time Texas voted for a Democratic president. But I don't think it was that long ago, because there was a time in my lifetime that Texas had a Democratic governor and Democratic senators. In my lifetime. It didn't always be a lowest common. It wasn't always a lowest common denominator Republican bulwark state. There was a time. There was a time. And thank you for the $2, Dustin. I appreciate that. You know, you can be a member and contribute $2 a month. As a super fan, your $2 every month would go towards improving the quality of my production setup. But remember, this is something I always stress. I'm a distiller with a YouTube channel. I'm not a YouTuber with a distillery. So, naturally, my focus is on the work, the business, not the channel stuff. My focus is always on the whiskey, not the content. The contents of our bottles, not the contents of our channels. But it would be nice to get to the point where I could actually have like an Old Humble media team, I suppose, and they would, just make content like the Red Bull media team, going out and doing crazy stunts and all kinds of stuff. That'd be cool. My own Old Humble stunt crew going and making just mad videos all the time, yo. Yeah, I said yo. Anyway, back to the business metrics. Steve Erpenbeck. Business is booming. We're doing well right now. We're not doing well enough, consistently enough, for me to be comfortable yet. But I have hired salesmen who are, quite frankly, well, I don't want to say killing it, because they're not exactly killing it. But one of them is doing really good. I mean, they're mortally wounding it. They're doing good. I'm proud of the boys for going out and doing what they're doing. They're doing quite well for, rookie sales guys who've never done this sort of thing before. Quite proud of them. I go out when I sell, when I'm going out and doing my tastings, I'm selling 2 or 3 cases a store. I go into the store and I sell a case. And if I'm there for 6 hours, I'll sell 3 if they have 3. I'll sell 5 if they have 5. I'll sell everything they have. I sell them down to the damn rafters. I don't count as far as, ability to sell. I'm the owner of the company. I have a passion for it. I sign the bottles. Comparisons to me is not fair. However, if I could get these guys to go into the stores and sell 3 cases a week, I would be very satisfied. Because then I make a little bit of money. They make a little bit of money. I can afford to pay them. I can afford to pay them enough to keep them around, keep them interested. Which reminds me, I need to tell them their schedule for the week. Oops. I'll do that in the morning. But yeah, we're hitting our numbers. I need to push my sales goal, and this is a very modest sales goal, we're a small business. My sales goal for a month is 60 cases. That's it. 60 cases. And this 10 case batch right here represents the 40 cases sold this month. So we're getting there. We're getting there. We still got 20 days left in the month. Almost 20 days, 17 days left in the month. I should hit my goal for the month of 60, which will be very good. Very good. Now the challenge though is getting those results consistent, because we hit, I don't know, 50 cases a month back in March, but then April and May we didn't do anything, or we did very little. We did very little. We didn't do enough in April and May because we just did. We didn't have inventory. And I was trying to sell the bourbon through the stores. The bourbon was set at $60 a bottle on the shelves, and we're trying to lower the price down to $45. And the stores wouldn't lower it until they got rid of the 60, so we focused on selling the 60. And then my sales guys went crazy in the month of April, and then I had to go and do the sales myself in May and bring in the newbies, train them up. Huh. Can't tell if it's the bottle or the whiskey. Odd. Like just these 4 bottles have a strange color to them. It's weird. I don't like it. And that's like the first bottles that came off the line, too. I'll set them aside and see what happens. See if it clarifies. Anyway, where's chat? Independent Joe! Independent Joe! What's in the bottles is, no, look, it's not floaters. It's just, it's not clear. And this is like the first 4 bottles that came off the line. They're just, they like never clarified. So I think I'm just going to dump them and refill them with fresh whiskey. What we have here is a special reserve, my good man. We'll have fully labeled and finished bottles in just a minute. I got to get through 2 more cases here. In fact, I'm going to fire up 4 bottles real quick. No, that's not how we're going to do it. We're just going to drain these 4. Into the vat and make fresh bottles with them. Excuse me one second. quality control. Mash bill for our special reserve is 90% corn, 10% malted barley. It is aged 5 years in used bourbon barrels and then finished in new barrels. Then we bottle it at 90 proof. It looks much better. Then we bottle it at 90 proof and sell it all over the world. In fact, I have a meeting with a guy from Belize, who's an import from Belize to China, I think. Yeah, it looks much better. That's just the weirdest thing. It was cloudy. I don't know why it was cloudy. It was like the first bottles off the line, and they never clarified. They never, the color never settled. Quite strange. Quite strange. None of the others have been like that. It was just those four, those first four. Yeah. Who else is here? Always going to be Whim. What's in these bottles? Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter won Texas. Let's see here. Let me catch up here. How many cases it takes to sell just to pay expenses? I know exactly how many cases it takes to cover expenses. Steve, it takes just to cover basic expenses. It takes, including electricity and internet and basic media marketing, it takes 20 cases. Covers rent, media, basic stuff. But now, to cover cost of goods, so that I have enough to buy more bottles and corks and make more whiskey and all that stuff, it takes about 50 cases a month. And then the 60 cases a month is to cover a little bit of payroll for my sales guys and me. The 50 cases a month covers the cost of goods and me. Gives me a little bit of cash I can kick back to my home, so I can help with the household expenses. Less than 60 cases, or less than 50 cases rather, and I still subsidize the distillery a little bit. So there you go. And up until this point, I've been subsidizing the distillery pretty much every year. There was only 1 year where I didn't have to kick in extra cash. But this year, I may do it again next year just to make sure we're well capitalized, that we have funds. But I may not do it at the beginning of the year. I may just have like a reserve that I'll kick over if necessary. I'm hoping that we can be in that kind of position next year where I can just be all like, here's a personally financed line of credit. If we need it, we've got it. If we don't, we don't. There we go. You're terrified. I'm kind of terrified Trump will win too, Dustin. And mostly because having seen what he did last time with competent professionals around him, and him knowing, I don't think his goal is to do stupid things. I think his goal had been last time was to use the mechanisms of campaign finance to launder money into his companies. To get campaign funds, and then use those campaign funds to recapitalize his businesses. My understanding was that his businesses were cash poor, asset rich, and his goal was to sell books and get cash. And he fell ass backwards into the presidency because Hillary Clinton was a terrible fucking candidate. Of all the people who could have possibly run against him, she's the one who did it, and she lost. She will forever be the person who lost to Donald fucking Trump. How bad of a candidate do you have to be? Anyway, of course, Al Gore lost his own home state when he was busy losing to George Bush. So, there's that. Anyway, no, but his goal for the second term appears to be solely and completely staying out of jail. Seems to be. He doesn't have any real policy stuff except for the xenophobic anti-immigrant shit that he spouts. He doesn't believe in anything. He doesn't have a policy agenda except whatever the Republicans tell him to say. So all he's saying is, the goofy, rabid, right-wing stuff that nobody in America believed until 2015. At least they didn't believe it out loud. So, I mean, when you don't have any plans and your whole goal is to stay out of jail, I don't know what he's going to do. I don't have the slightest idea. And I was less worried about his first term because he at least had competent professionals around him. But I don't think he's going to have competent professionals around him in the second term. He's going to have Stephen Miller and all those fucking lunatics. His secretary. I mean, shit. If Ted Cruz loses, well, if he wins, Ted Cruz wins. But he could have Ted Cruz as his attorney general. Ted Cruz used to be a solicitor general. Argued that owning a dildo was not protected speech in Texas. You did not have a right to an orgasm. And I swear to God, he did that because he can't make his wife orgasm. That's a true story. Look it up. Not that he can't make his wife orgasm, but he argued against dildos. Anyway, I don't like Ted Cruz at all. Goes to jail. I don't think so. So Jimmy Carter won Texas. But Texas went Democratic since Jimmy Carter. I think it was Bill Clinton. Or was Jimmy Carter the last person to win Texas? Democrat to win Texas. I seem to remember it being Bill Clinton. Maybe not Bill Clinton's first year, but maybe his second term. Because he was a Southern Democratic governor. And that was I may be wrong. It's happened once before. Anyway, catch up. It's going to be at my whim. The bottles, I told you what's in the bottles. Mass age proof. Yep. Not a floater. Could use a drink, though. Okay, so Carter was the last tip. I got you. Shark Tank would not. My sister asked me about Shark Tank. Shark Tank doesn't go for my kind of businesses, and an infusion of cash. What I would need if I were looking to raise money. See, the sharks are looking for, this business, add X number of dollars, grow X number of people. Like, in order to go interstate, I need a person who can hook me up with Glacier or Republic, two big name distributors, national distributors, and get me access to other states. But I'd also need a sales team in those states. So in order to get into, say, Kansas, I'd need to have a team of 5 or 10 people on the ground. If I'm going to hire 5 or 10 people, I'm hiring 5 or 10 people in Texas. But in order to hire 5 or 10 people, we've got to push. I mean, each one of those guys has got to be responsible for, if it's a part-time employee, if I'm paying them $500 a week, they've got to be responsible for 3 cases each, at least. Like, you've got to sell 3 cases every single week. That doesn't sound like a lot, but when if you're in Texas, I don't know about other states, but when you're in Texas, they have these demo girls, usually girls, these demo people who give you samples when you go into a liquor store. And those girls, on average, sell four bottles a month. Those girls will sell 4 bottles per month if they sell anything at the stores at all. It's a big deal because they're not salesmen. They're promotions or advertising. They're a pretty face with the brand. That's it. That's all they're doing. They're not salesmen. And I need pipe swinging motherfucking salesmen who will go into a store. First of all, they'll go into a store and they'll tell the store owner, hey, you need to put me on the shelf so I can do a demo on Saturday. And the store owner will be like, well, we'll try and put it with, we'll give you a half a case. I mean, like, no, you don't understand. I'm a badass. You see hanging out of the bottom of my pants here? That's my big old cock. I'm good at this stuff. And you need to give me 2 cases so I can sell one and have the other one left behind when I leave. And then they get 2 cases sold. Boom, just like that. And then they go and do their demo and they sell one of those cases, maybe, and leave the other case behind. Or if they're really good, they sell them both. And then that dude has to order a 3rd case. And then they take their cock and they throw it over their shoulder and they walk out the door like a bad motherfucker does. At least that's what I do. And sometimes the first time you call them up and say, hey, you need to order an extra case. And they go, we're good with one. And then you show up and you sell them out in 45 minutes. And then you talk to the manager and say, I told you so. Next time I'm here, you need to order 3 cases or I'm going to slap you with my nuts. And then they say, yes, sir. And do what you tell them. But what I'm saying is, I need people in Texas who can do that because there's 35 million people in Texas, 250 Spec stores, 155 Twin liquor stores, 50 Zips liquor stores. There's a bunch of stores. And, it gets to the point where you layer on top of your demos print media, audio media, social media, marketing and advertising, and you layer that in. There's a cost benefit to having more and more and more and more and more demo girls and demo guys out there. You don't want to just have an army of hundreds of people out there because that gets inefficient. You want to have a small team that can blitz with demos and be coordinated with ads. At least Jared walked away with $2 billion, right? Bill lost both times. Bill Clinton lost Texas both times. Gotcha. Be happy to make. That man has a brain. That man has his brain's fucking mush. Have you heard him? Good God. I mean, Biden sounds like an old man when he talks. He sounds like an old man. Trump sounds like a fucking crazy person. Did you hear? Did you watch the video from his tape in Nevada, Las Vegas, where he's talking about the shark infested waters and the boat? And you talk to MIT guys and the boat that sinks under its own weight, and the battery can electrocute you, or you go get eaten by the shark. Which one are you gonna do? Like that is the ramblings and rantings of a crazy person. That is a stupid person trying to sound smart. That's all that is. Lying about it being MIT people don't talk about that shit. They got more sense than that. Anyway, when it comes down to it, neither one of them is going to finish their term, I don't think. Both of them have a very high chance of dying during the next 4 years, whichever one wins. But up and down the administration, from vice president to the secretary of reminding me when to go to the next office or to the next meeting, Biden will select good, competent people. This we know because he has done so already. He has already selected good, competent people to be in office. That is some protein chains. That's going to go over here. That looked weird. That's the first time I've seen something like that. It looked like protein chains. Actually, they looked like bubbles, but it looked like a cloud of protein. Because I don't chill filter this stuff. Anyway, but from Supreme Court justice appointees to Department of Interior to, I mean, who would you? Kamala Harris is who she is, but who would you prefer in the event of the death of the executive to take over? Mike fucking Pence or Kamala Harris? I don't think Mike Pence knew where to find the Oval Office by himself. He was, that dude was in over his head, 100%. And you know good and damn well that Trump's not going to get a vice president who's competent to be a vice president. He's going to get a vice president who will just do whatever Trump tells him to do. He will get a vice president who will not certify the election unless Trump wins. He will get a vice president who is a yes man. That's it. Because Trump learned his lesson from the first time that you don't want to get a guy who might accidentally grow a spine at the very last minute. Anyway, enough of that shit. I don't want to feel existential dread about the election until October. Please and thank you. Yes, they are both stupid old. That is 100% true. We don't need to discuss how much we hate Trump. You've done some store picks, tentative club sales. You know what? Most stores don't have the traffic. That's right. Most stores don't have the traffic. That's extremely, extremely true. You kind of got to go to the big box stores to get the traffic to sell that kind of volume. And otherwise, you're just pushing bottles, you're pushing cases to shelves. You're going from, you're selling 100 cases because you just signed up 100 stores. You're selling, your big bulk sales come in bunches because you added a whole bunch of stores and your distributor's placing an order to put new stock on new shelves. Because most of your sales after that are, if it's from, someplace like Stonefield Liquor, some independent Texan liquor mom and pop shop that has 5 rooftops, they're not getting 100 people in their store a day. The big box stores like Total Wine, Twin Liquor, Twin Liquor, Specs here in Texas. In other states, we're talking ABC, Costco, Total Wine. In other states, those are going to be the ones that have lots of traffic, lots of foot traffic coming through the door, lots of people coming through the door. And when you have a lot of people coming through the door, you can sell a lot of whiskey. But if 10 people show up to your store, there's no way in hell you sell 2 cases. You'll be lucky to sell 6 bottles to the 10 people that came in the store. And a lot of those little single rooftops, mom and pop shops, single stores, single unit stores, they make their bread and butter. They make their money off selling Wild Turkey, Evan Williams, Jack Daniels, and Tito's. Everything under $20, which makes it really hard for craft liquors to go to Fire and Ice and make a value proposition, because we're not a $20 commodity product. We're more of a luxury. And not a once-a-year luxury. We can absolutely be a once-a-month luxury or every couple of months luxury. But we're certainly not milk. You're not buying our whiskey every week. Hell, most people aren't buying whiskey every week. But you're certainly not buying small batch, handcrafted, craft whiskey every week. And, I'd like to be in all the big stores. I'd like to be in every store on every corner. But the reality is, that's just not my market. My market is not every discount liquor store in Texas. I don't want to be in the discount liquor stores in Texas. We're not a discount liquor. I don't want to be on the shelf next to Jack Daniels necessarily. I want to be on the shelf in a nice store that has a parking lot, that you're not worried about getting, rolled when you go out to your car. I want to be in a store where people are going into the store expecting to spend $30 to $50. That's my market. People prepared, expecting to spend $30 to $50. Because my whiskey runs $25 to $45 in the stores. Oh, hell, in the distillery. In the distillery, it runs $30 to $45. In the stores, it runs $25 to $45. So those are the stores I want to be into. I don't want to be in the store where you're looking to get in and out for $10 or less. They're going and buying a pint of Jack Daniels. leaving us understaffed, and Trump's inability to hire. Let's see, regarding Trump's inability to hire anyone, I don't think it was his inability. I think that was part of the plan. And as bad as it was last time, like I just don't think he was interested in the mechanisms of governing, and he didn't put people around him who were. And when you have people like Bannon, who are burn the whole place down, people, and put some that think the government is inherently corrupt and cannot be reformed, but needs to be destroyed, so that something better can replace it. Part of the plan is to destroy the bureaucratic mechanism, destroy the administrative state. And you destroy the administrative state by not replacing people when they leave, by firing bureaucrats and getting rid of people. Either get them to quit and don't replace them, or fire them outright. And one of the things that protects our democracy is all of the people in the bureaucracy, the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that we have working at the federal government, the postal inspectors and the postmen and the copywriters and the environmental protection agency and the researchers at the Department of Interior, and all these people that have the ability to say no. The park rangers, for crying out loud, who were just like, no. Or the folks in the Department of Defense that would just like take files and move them off of his desk so that he couldn't get a crazy idea about bombing some place that, whatever. Or just they'd receive an instruction and then would just kind of slow walk it down the hall so that it didn't get there in time, or something like that. These are the people that protect our democracy as much as anything else, because they're the conscience of the apparatus. And if you take the conscience of the apparatus out, then you don't have anybody second guessing bad policy and bad decision making. And when you don't have people second guessing that stuff, bad things happen. And people who don't like slow moving government hate that. They hate deliberative bodies. They hate people who talk things to death and discuss things to death and put things into committee and discuss it. I used to complain about that with our church. I'm an elder in my church. It's a Presbyterian church, and we have a committee to appoint a committee, a member selection committee for the selection committee of new elders and deacons. And then the selection committee selects people to be considered by the session, and the session votes on them to present the slate of nominees to the congregation that then votes on them. So it's like a nominating committee has been selected by a selection committee, and then the nominating committee selects the names to go to the session, which then votes on whether or not they will accept that slate of nominees. And if they accept the slate of nominees, then it goes to the congregation, which then votes affirmative or negative for the slate of nominees. So it goes through like 4 nominations and 4 votes before it gets to be a very deliberative process. Lots of talk, lots of meetings, lots of discussion. And I used to hate that. I still kind of hate it. But I see the value in it because it's just part of what helps you make decisions that aren't knee-jerk, rash, poorly thought-out decisions. They're not reactionary. They're well thought-out decisions, or at least well-debated decisions, well-discussed decisions, if you're doing it right. And when you hollow out the bureaucratic apparatus, then you get people then you get whipsaws of policy making. It goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and you don't really know what you're doing. But if you have these people who've been here for 30 years, and you show up and you say, you know what, tomorrow we're going to quit saying the words climate change. Well, you can do that. But if you have these people who've been there for 40 years, they're going to figure out a way to work around it because they've got 40 years of experience and knowledge and 40 years worth of operational memory, institutional memory, that's the words I'm looking for, that will work its way into the rest of the rest of the material that will describe the thing you're not allowing them to talk about. Because that's their work. That's what they do. But if none of them work there, if there's only one person in the office, then you go in there and say, this is how it's going to be done. And then that person does it. And then you're done. That's it. They just carries out the orders. So that's what worries me about a second term. That the people he puts around him aren't going to be the people. I mean, he's going to be interested in staying out of jail. But the people he puts around him are going to be the people who will be carrying out these cuckoo bird crazy stuff, because he's not going to have people who are serious about governing. He's going to have people with an agenda of destroying the bureaucratic state, destroying the administrative state. And once you destroy the administrative state, God help us. As flawed as our democracy is, the administrative state is what keeps us in a deliberative democracy and not in a reactionary democracy. The bureaucracy keeps us independent from corporations running the departments. And when corporations start running the departments, that's when you start dipping into a combination of capitalism and governance that starts with an F and rhymes with fascism. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the word, fascism. Doesn't rhyme with it, it is it. Whoops. Ugh. I don't have fear of becoming a communist country. We have too much entrenched capitalistic investment and legal structure. I do fear the tipping in the other direction. Because fascists hate communists. If you fight too hard against communism, you may become the other thing that you fight so hard to stop. Hell, we just had a whole celebration about that. Anyway, let's catch up on chat. 100 people sure, but 100 whiskey people. Yeah, that's another thing about those small stores. Those people are coming there, and every store, not just small stores, every store has a peculiar personality to it. Like the store down in Galveston is very much a rum, vodka, and tequila store. Very tough to sell whiskey in Galveston, Texas. It's a beach town. Last one. 10 cases. Done and dusted. The store on the northwest side up here that I was at a few days ago is very much a vodka and Hennessy store. A lot of the stores are wine stores, almost exclusively. They have a huge liquor selection, but a lot of wine. Protein chicken in there. I wonder how they got in there. Huh. They look like little float. These are going to the bar, the tasting room rather. The rest are going in boxes. 6. And the hard part is getting people who aren't whiskey people to even try it. If I can stop them and get them to engage, that's the hardest thing. But if I can do it, I have a seal and feel. It is late and I am tired. What time is it? Very excited about my new. What time is it? 1:51. Thought I'd around 2 o'clock. If I'd have gotten here at the time I wanted to get here, I'd have been done around 1 o'clock. But to stay home and be a parent, I was talking to with my boys, try to make peace in the old Hacienda. Casito. But yeah, getting people to stop. The label chasers. Oh, those people are the fucking worst too. The ones that are coming in there looking for their magic fucking label from some Kentucky distillery. They're like, oh, I want the special drops. My favorite way to try and engage those guys, when I see them over there asking the manager, what do you have that's allocated, blah, blah, blah. As they come by, I'm like, would you like to try a truly unique and truly rare whiskey? And I stress to them, there's only 200 cases of this made the last 12 months. Which is probably true. I think we've only sold about 200 cases of this stuff in the last, of any one of these brands in the last year or so. That feels right. But yeah, the label chasers are the worst. Or nuke a tornado. He wanted to nuke a hurricane. Drop a nuke in a hurricane. Oh shit, I forgot about that, man. Drop a fucking nuke in a hurricane. And then he drew on the hurricane map to extend the danger range out to Alabama because he couldn't possibly be mistaken. So he fucked with the map. Oh my god, I forgot about that too. You know what I forgot to do? Make sure I wipe the necks off on these. These are all. I mean, there's a little dust on some of these bottles because they've been the pallet, the bottle pallet they gave me wasn't wrapped like it normally is. So we got dust on some of these bottles that came to us. There might be little dust on the bottle. Don't let it fool you about what's inside. That's how it goes. Might be a little dust on the bottle, but don't let it fool you about what's inside. I don't remember who sang that song. But, oh, I sang some lyrics to a song. ASCAP is going to send me a letter. Fucking ASCAP. I hate ASCAP. I hate BMI. I hate these music licensing people. They run the nastiest scams. I mean, I get it. If you're a business and you're playing music in order to draw people in, if they're coming to listen to the music, yeah, you need to be licensed. That is, you are a music venue at that point. You need to be a licensed music venue. But these motherfuckers want you to be licensed for the radio you're playing in the background is ambient music, karaoke music, jukebox, and they want revenue from your establishment for the jukebox being played, not revenue from the jukebox itself. They base their revenue, your licensing fee for the jukebox, on the foot traffic in your establishment. So for every single person that comes into your business, whether they use the jukebox or not, you owe money. They are a huge scam. And most of that money never makes it back to the artists. Just like Spotify, just like the other music licensing services. They'll play the music, the artists hardly see any of the money. But it's not enough that the radio station pays licensing fee. It's not enough that they're already being paid when you buy a record or a CD or an album or whatever. That's not enough. No. They want money for every person that comes into your store, whether you're playing the music or not. So I could be playing music that's not even ASCAP licensed, and they don't care. They want a license fee of whatever, $5,000 a year or something like that. And I did the math on it. The fee that they were asking, the license fee that they wanted, would have required me to be open 24 hours a day for 4 days with a person playing ASCAP music nonstop for those 48 hours or 4 days worth of music. It was just absolutely bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. So I told the guy, we're not going to fucking do it. We're not going to have any music. Y'all are just going to go pound sand. We're not going to have any fucking music. And you can tell the artists, you can write them a letter and say that it's your fucking fault. The new artists who are trying to find an audience, who are trying to find a voice, who are trying to learn how to perform, you can tell them it's your fault because you're preventing them from coming to venues that are just trying to give them a space with your extortionary fucking fees. Ain't nobody coming to see some dumb kid play cover music in the background at some bar. Nobody's coming for that. They're coming for the cheap beer. They're coming for the loose women. They're coming for the strong whiskey. That's why they're coming to the bar. Not to hear some 19-year-old kid play cover songs of Travis Tritt and Clint Black. Who in their right mind would pay money for that? The answer is nobody. Nobody comes to a venue to see some kid. Now, there are some venues that do a performance called, Ryan Adam Wells. He does a jukebox train wreck where he'll perform requests and mash them up with a particular style. So Alice in Chains singing Johnny Cash, or something like that. That's what he does. That's clever. That's fun. That's interesting. I don't know if that's actual copyright infringement, because he's doing the performance, and he's doing a hell of a performance that you wouldn't otherwise get anywhere else. Unless you actually, well, hell, even if you went and saw Alice sing Johnny Cash, it wouldn't be the same as Ryan Adam Wells doing it. But anyway, I'm pretty sure the venue he played at was licensed. They said they were. But they're also a music venue that does that sort of thing. You know, host bands on a regular basis. So we may never have live music at the Old Humble Distilling Company again. And if we do, it will always be original music. Never requests, never covers. And never, ever, ever broadcast on the YouTubes. Because if we do broadcast it on the YouTubes, and one of these bands goes and plays a cover, then I'll have one of these fucking licensing agencies crawling up my butthole. And I do not like it when things crawl up my butthole. That is one of my least favorite things, as a matter of fact, ever. So, all right, down to the final couple of so one thing I haven't done is put the last step is put the labels on the boxes to tell the people at the stores what's inside the box. This is not, we have 4 different brands, and instead of having 4 different boxes for each brand, or a different box for each brand of 4 different boxes, I have chosen the route of getting a custom printed box label for the boxes. It just says what it is, a little blurb about the whiskey, that's it. Nothing fancy, nothing surprising or shocking. But that's the last step. And I'm not doing that because I only have 6 labels and I need 10. And I'll run to Office Depot in the morning and print out, probably print out 15 labels. No, 14 labels. So that I'll have 10 left over of these labels. So that our next order will be much easier to do. Just have the labels already on hand. And tomorrow night will be the return of the Old Humble Happy Hour with our new camera, our new lights, our cleaned up office. Everything will be good to go tomorrow, where we discuss genius hacks for overcoming procrastination. And ironically, I scheduled it originally for Sunday night, moved it to Monday, and now I've moved it to Tuesday. But it's not procrastination. It's just I didn't have time. I literally did not have time to get it done yesterday or today. But tomorrow, we do the show. We bring back the Old Humble Happy Hour. This is episode 243. And then when we get the new computer, when we get everything up and running with the new computer, which is still many dollars of funding away, we need about between $600 and $1,000 to get a new computer. And all studio, what I said before, I'm sticking to my guns on this. All studio money, all money that I spend on the studio has to come from YouTube money. So I bought new lights and a new camera. New lights and a new camera. And a new microphone. The microphone I have on my lapel right now is YouTube money. So of the $200 that I've raised and brought in on YouTube money, I have now spent $150, I think. Yeah, right at $150. So that means we have $50 in the kitty, and I need to bring in another $600 or so, which at the rate that I'm going right now means I should be good. It should be around Christmas time when we get the new computer, and then I can start doing new stuff with regards to Old Humble Happy Hour stuff. So that'll be cool. That'll be cool. It'll be fun. And a good time will be had by all. Hold on one second. I gotta grab this thing from right here. Cleverly, they put these spacers in bundles that equal the number of boxes that are in bundles. So you should have as many spacers as you have bottles. It doesn't always work out that way because sometimes boxes get used for random purposes. But it usually does. So there you go. But yeah, as far as the channel's going, we are on pace to get 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month and 5,000 subscribers by the end of the summer. And if everything continues to go as things are going right now, we may be sitting on 6,000 by the end of the year, which is pretty cool. That's a level of growth that I was not expecting at the beginning of the year. And that is also helping with the revenue. Not gonna lie, helps with the revenue a lot. And it's almost all being fueled by shorts. And I'm leaning in on the shorts media. I'm happy about it. I'm okay with it, I guess. I'm not like overjoyed, but I'm okay with it. I would rather have more longer form stuff, but you know, I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. If I'm getting revenue and interest and people seeing and following the brand from short exposures, so be it. Happy with it. And that's it, boys and girls. From 11:30 to 2:09. 11:30 to 2:09. 10 cases. All fully boxed up. Done. Done and literally dusted. Nothing's ever fucking easy. Son of a... Come on. All right. There we go. That's that. Done and dusted. All right. These will all go to the bar tomorrow, but not this one. That one? Nope. That one's okay. That one. That one doesn't go to the bar. All right. Draining the hoses out now. Well, actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to keep this one a little bit filled. I'm going to come back and do that tomorrow. Probably do more of that particular spirit as well. So I've got a little bit of everything sitting here waiting to go into bottles. I've got a little bit of straight whiskey. I've got a little bit of straight whiskey, a little bit of bourbon, a little bit of special reserve, and a little bit of rye, all waiting to go into bottles. But I'm running out of bottles. As you can see, my little stash on the floor there. So I'm going to have to make a trip down to Laredo. Going to have to make a trip down to Laredo to get more bottles soon. And y'all heard it here first. We're going to have a clear series of liquors. Yep, the Old Humble guy is going to make vodka, gin, and absinthe. So get excited about that, I guess. I appreciate you guys joining me tonight. I'm a little tired, as you can probably guess. I've been up since the wee hours this morning, and I've had a very busy day. But I appreciate you joining me tonight. We will be live tomorrow night for an Old Humble Happy Hour, return of the Old Humble Happy Hour, where we will be talking about, well, we'll be doing a lot of what we're doing now, except instead of working, I'll just be chilling out in my office. It's going to be an open forum discussion, not a debate. We don't do debates. Definitely not debates over topics that aren't debatable topics. Because that's just silly. Why would you debate a topic that's not debatable? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. But we're going to call it a night. It's been 2 hours and 54 minutes. I could run the clock down to 2 hours and 60, which would be 3 hours, but I'm not gonna. We're just going to call it a night. I've got my last shot of Special Reserve. Pulled it right out of the tap over here, of the vat. Y'all be awesome to each other. Continue to be awesome to each other. Extend a little grace to each other so you can give others the chance to be awesome back to you. Until tomorrow night or the next night we see each other, I am the Old Humble guy, and you are not. Cheers.